I, like so many of you, think that the coolest thing a barbarian can do is just swing around with an axe a bunch, as we've all seen in all sorts of games, whether it's Diablo or Last Epoch, or basically anything with an axe and a barbarian archetype in it. D&D, however, does not manage to do this very well, but thankfully, mostly due to the new Northlands books, we have a solution for this, and you can hit just a bunch of dudes all at the same time with this build today, and also do a staggering amount of damage. Technically the highest I've done yet, which is very silly for a martial. My name is Jason, this is my channel Dungeon Himbo, and as per the reinvention of the channel name, I thought it would only be fitting to wear my hoodie, which is very comfortable, and also I'm not 100%, so the extra warmth is good for me, as it turns out. Today I'm going to go through an entirely martial build, which is just a nice easy combo of barbarian and fighter, and show you how you can turn an axe into clearly the strongest thing in existence. So, if you're ready, join me on this lovely journey that we're about to embark on. I'm also testing out this as the main way of reading through my builds. Let me know if you prefer this or this one. I don't know. I feel like most people who do builds do it with a larger screen than the one I normally work with in this teeny tiny little corner. So this might be better? Let me know. Let's go over species first. I went for Minotaur. There were a few reasons for this, but one of them is that to most effectively make use of the cleave property, which is what we're going to be leaning into, but like a super boosted version of it, thanks to a feat from the Northlands book by Kobold Press, we really need people to be close to each other. And for that to happen, we need a consistent way to push them while still using an axe, which is easier said than done. The Grudgel, I believe from Grim Hollow, does have a way of doing this, but the Minotaur actually has it's a first-party species, which is a lot more comfortable for some people to swallow, even though we are doing a mostly third-party build. But like, if you've watched my channel before, when I was previously Any of the Strife, then you know that this is what I do, and if you don't, then welcome to the world of third-party stuff. It's cooler here. It's just better here, flat out, more interesting, so stick around. Anyway, aside from being a cool Minotaur, we get a few big things here. The Goring Rush is a nice little bonus if we want to make a bonus action attack, but that's not really what we want our horns for. Instead, we want our horns to use the Hammering Horns feature, which reads, immediately after you hit a creature with a melee attack as part of the attack action on your turn, you can use a bonus action to attempt to push the target with your horns. The target must be within 5 feet of you and no more than one size larger than you, which is going to be pretty easy to manage as we go through this build, as you'll see. And unless it succeeds on a strength saving throw of 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength, you push it up to 10 feet away from you. The up to here is absolutely essential because it means we can do as much as we need, basically. We can only do this once per turn with this method, obviously. But theoretically, as the barbarian, you're usually going to have people around you anyway, and the ability to move someone else towards somebody else so that you can have them within range of your axe is going to be super useful. So yes, that's what we'll be doing our bonus action doing, basically. You can assume that's the case from here on out. For our character background, I had some trouble choosing this. There's always an argument for going for something like Farmer for barbarians. You could also always take Skilled. I really like Skilled if you're going for a roleplay character, like one you're actually playing. It's worth noting these builds are entirely what-if damage, although I do try to put some thought into how they would be to play. The Zentrum Mercenary background gives us the Zentrum Ruffian feature. The Origin feat, which is when we roll damage for an origin attack, an opportunity attack, you can roll twice and use either against the target, which is nice. And if you have a heroic inspiration when we roll initiative, you can expend it to give yourself and allies advantage on the initiative roll, which is really solid. Free advantage, especially if you've got a human in the party, is fantastic. So that's good stuff. It doesn't give us the stats we want, so you'll need to customize this. Basically, we do want strength, we don't want charisma. Our starting stats, as we want them, will be 17 in strength, so we've got the +2 there, assuming point buy, 14 in dex, 16 in con, which is where we'll put the 1 that we put in charisma, 8 in intelligence, 10 in wisdom. I just think wisdom's a good stat, it's worth having, and 8 in charisma. We are not a charming human being. We're not a human being, we're a cow man. So, cow lady, cow they them, cow whatever. Whatever you feel, whatever you fancy. The Zentium background also lets us get the Zentrim, the other Zentrim one, which I've got in the build, and I can't remember what it's called. Zentrim, if I was a better editor, I'd dub that over, I'm not going to. Zentrim second feat, which we will be taking eventually, and it is eventually, because you're a barbarian, so being able to guarantee an opportunity attack is a very good way to get more damage. Anyway, as a level 1 barbarian, and that is what we'll be starting with, we get the biggest of hit point die, which is a huge help. Strength and con saving throws, which is lovely. I've gone for athletics and survival as our skills, but you can take whichever ones you prefer. Athletics does just make sense though. We also get rage, which allows us to, a number of times per, I think it's 2 times to begin with, right? Per long rest, you can enter a rage, which lasts for 10 minutes. It gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and you get to add a little bit of extra damage to your attacks. It's not a huge amount, but it's some, and it does add up with all the other modifiers that we will be adding to our attack. And there will be many. It's a really fun one if you like not having to worry about dice, but it's also a really fun one if you like worrying about dice. So we've got it all here, people. You also can't concentrate on spells or cast spells. We're not going to be doing that, so I wouldn't worry about that particularly. We get an unarmored defense, which is 10 plus our dex plus our con. We're not that worried about our defense because we're mostly just very healthy and hard to hit, hard to kill. Very easy to hit. Also at level 1, we get Weapon Mastery. Great Axe Cleave, as the Great Axe is going to be our weapon of choice for the most part, and Hand Axe for Vex. More because it's nice to have a ranged option sometimes. Sometimes a creature is flying too high for you to hit it. Being able to throw an axe at it is better than nothing. Level 2, we get Danger Sense, which allows us to get advantage on dexterity saving throws unless we're incapacitated. This is just a really strong feature, especially this early in the game. We do have a reasonable dex score with this build, and most barbarians do, but if you don't, this is a good way to kind of offset that. Obviously, the biggest draw at level 2 is Reckless Attack, which lets you attack with advantage using your strength attacks until the start of your next turn. That means this applies to our opportunity attacks as well, and anything else that we're doing. But attacks against us also have advantage. We don't care about being hit, not really, so this is going to be permanently on for the purposes of everything, basically. Level 3, of course, gets us our subclass, and I am going with the Northlands Path of the Titan, which is a different take on the Giant Barbarian archetype. The Path of the Giants Barbarian from Fizzbands, I believe it is more about yeeting stuff and the elemental infusions that giants get. The Path of the Titan is more about being an absolutely large lad, and it comes with a bunch of incredibly cool benefits, which I am going to go into. We also get Primal Knowledge, which gives us another proficiency, which is nice. And we can use our Rage to get better at stuff. I don't understand how you look at things better with your Rage. Try not to think about it too long. Rage of the Giants is the core feature here, and the one that we will be making the most of. To begin with, reads, your Rage taps into the primal power of giants. When you activate your Rage, if you are a size smaller than large, which we are, you can choose to become large. Your equipment grows to match your new size. If there's not enough room, you do not grow. While you're large, your carrying capacity doubles. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, which is nice. And your attacks with weapons or unarmed strikes deal 1 additional die of damage. A great sword, for example, would deal 3d6, which is a 50% increase, despite the fact that greatsword is usually the best weapon for any martial character. And a great axe deals 2d12, which is a 100% increase, which you will note is more than 50%, which is another good reason to go for the great axe. This boosts our damage by a lot, unsurprisingly, but we'll get into that in the damage check-in at level 5. Level 4, we are going to take the Battle Axe Topple Mastery, just because we are an axe-themed character. That's more or less what we're doing. And we also get our first feat, or ASI. The feat that we are taking is called Axe Fighter, which is also from the Kobold Press Northlands Worldbook, and it is a doozy, and the moment I saw this I knew I'd have to build around it, and here we are. This allows you to increase your strength by 1, which is good because it gets our strength up to 18, which obviously improves both our chance to hit and also our damage, which is lovely. We also get a bunch of buffs. So Axe Flurry is once on each of our turns. If you hit a creature with a hand axe, you can make an extra attack with a hand axe as a bonus action, which is nice if we're yeeting them. You will need several of these to do this though. When you hit a creature with a battle axe, it gets disadvantage on the con save to avoid the prone condition, which is nice if we're trying to knock people prone with that. And the big one here is the number of additional creatures you can attack using the cleave property of a great axe is increased by a number equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded down. Our proficiency bonus at this point is only 2, which means we can only add 1 extra creature, but that does mean that we can actually attack 3 creatures. So 1 with our actual hit, 2 with the cleave, so an additional 1, and then obviously we've also got the bonus action as well, which is nice for knocking them into each other so that we can cleave. Cleave does state that they need to be within 5 feet of each other and not within your range, unfortunately. But hey, here we are. 5th level gets us some cool stuff. Barbarians get really good first 5 levels or so, and then they kind of fall off a little bit, which is a real shame. The issue is the fighters are very good. But anyway, level 5, obviously we're taking level 5 in Barbarian. We want extra attack, very useful because you get to attack twice, which is good. Twice as good, in fact, although not as much for us. It's only like a 33% increase if we're hitting everything we could be hitting. But, you know, try not to think about that. We also get fast movement, which increases our movement speed, which makes it a little bit easier to push people around, theoretically. With all of that in mind, it is worth noting that our damage at this point is 35.88 against an enemy AC of 18. The advantage is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, as is the double D12 and obviously the rage and everything else. However, if we're including the cleaves, because I'm not going to be doing that, I'm going to be separating it all out to keep things legitimate, I guess. We're doing 64.74 damage against that exact same AC. You're not going to be doing that every turn, realistically. You're going to be just doing somewhere in between those two figures, because you do need creatures next to each other. That's not always going to be the case. But if you've got someone who's playing a Warlock with Eldritch Blast and they can start slamming people around, or you can trap them, this is your like maximum damage output on average. That's a normal sentence for silly theory crafters like myself. Either way, it's a solid amount of damage. It's so solid, in fact, that we are now taking some fighter levels. Fighters are really good. It makes sense to take some fighter levels. We're going to take 1 level of fighter here to start. We get all the usual fighter stuff. We get a fighting style, which is a good thing here. And the fighting style I'm going to be taking is also from the Northlands Worldbook. It's funny how a lot of the stuff from that book is middling in power, I would say, generally, but when you put it all together, you get something very special. I'm taking Savagery because it reads, when you make your first melee attack roll on your turn, you can decide to attack savagely, much the same way you do with Reckless Attack, basically. Doing so allows you to add your proficiency bonus to your melee attack rolls, weapon damage rolls, but lowers your AC by 2 until the start of your next turn. We're probably getting hit anyway because of Reckless Attack, so we may as well just take the free damage here. The proficiency bonus is 3 here, so that's 3 extra damage per attack, which on top of the rage bonus, which is 2, I believe, and then the strength bonus, which is 4, it starts to add up very quickly and in a really satisfying way. We also get Second Wind, which allows us a little bit of healing, which is never a bad thing on a Barbarian because it's sort of doubled. We also get yet more weapon masteries. Honestly, just take the ones you want. It's of very little relevance to the way we're theoretically playing this, so just take the weapons you think are cool. Take an antimatter rifle. Why not? We're going to take our second level of fighter, our level 7. Action Surge is simply too good not to take. As soon as we can. Basically, that's an Action Surge, as you know, which allows us to take a bunch more attacks, which is good. So yes, we will be taking that. It also gives us Tactical Mind, which makes us slightly better at our non-combat stuff, which is handy. And it's nice to have. Level 8, we are going back to Barbarian for Barbarian 6, where we get Crushing Steps. This is the second feature of the Path of the Titan Barbarian. As part of your movement, you can move through the space of any creature with a size smaller than you. When you do so, if it's an enemy, the creature must succeed on a Strength saving throw, DC 8 plus Strength plus PB, or have the prone condition and lose the ability to take reactions until the start of its next turn. This does not say that the creature only makes this once per turn, so as written, you can just run back and forth over an enemy until they fail this. That does make me laugh an awful lot. It's impossible to not find that funny, I think. You're welcome to prove me wrong, but also let some laughter into your life. You know, chill. It's a good time, I promise. I would probably rule it as once per turn as a DM, but maybe not. It's just prone. I don't know. It's one of those ones where I think I'd have to see it in play to really figure it out. Level 9 is level 7 Barbarian for us. We get Feral Instinct, which gives us advantage on initiative rolls all the time, which means we don't have to expend a heroic inspiration if we have one, although doing so would still give advantage to all of our allies, which is never a bad thing. But it's nice to have just auto advantage. We also get Instinctive Pounce, which allows us to, when we take our bonus action, move up to half our speed, which makes it all the easier to run into a big old group and just start whirlwinding away. Also, our proficiency bonus goes up to 4 at level 7, which means we can add another creature to our cleave, which means we get 3 cleave targets, which is pretty tasty. Level 8 in Barbarian is our 10th level, and I am obviously going to be taking Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master is a classic. It improves your strength by 1, which for us gets us up to 19. And when you hit a creature with a weapon that has the heavy property, which the Great Axe does, but only as part of the attack action on your turn, which means that this bonus isn't going to affect our opportunity opportunity attacks, which will be relevant later. But you can cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target. They take extra damage to your proficiency bonus, which is 4, which means we're adding our proficiency bonus twice now to our attacks because of savagery and because of this. Also, if we crit, we can make another attack, but like I don't think stuff's surviving most of the time, whether we crit or not, so I don't think it matters. It also works when we reduce a creature to 0 hit points, so it is theoretically a relatively reliable way to get another attack, but it's not something I'm factoring into the damage. This is, however, level 10 for our build, which means we do get another damage check-in. The enemy AC here is 17, because it is. That's just I felt like that was the fairest way. I think I'm being slightly overzealous actually with the ACs, but here we are. We've got a bunch of splits here for how the damage works now, because I wanted to make sure this was as thorough as possible. Our damage check-in is 47.9, which isn't bad. If we action surge, it's 95.79, which is a lot better. If we cleave, it's 109.66, and if we cleave and action surge, it's 157.55, which is really strong. It's a substantial boost in damage, nearly 4 times what we were getting at level 5, which is one of the largest boosts I've had. That's obviously once per long rest, but even without the action surge and just with the cleaves, you're doing a lot of damage. So this build hits hard, and a lot harder than most barbarian builds I could manage. Level 11 is going to be barbarian 9 for us, where our rage damage goes up to 3. So exciting. I don't know why it's so low. I feel like the rage damage bonus could go up twice, maybe even 3 times as fast, and would be perfectly balanced. But I would love to know if you think differently or if you agree. At level 9 Barbarian, we also get Brutal Strike, which allows us to add an extra D10 by giving up advantage once in our turn. You can also forego the extra damage to push a creature more, so this is another good way to theoretically move people around if you need to, although it's just 15 feet straight. There's no up to. Or you can reduce a creature's speed by 15 feet. Both of those are solid, but not fantastic. Level 12 is Barbarian 10 for us. We get another weapon mastery. I've just taken Nick. I gave up on weapon masteries a long time ago, as you know. Just choose whatever you like. We also get Titanic Strikes, which allows us to move stuff even further if we decide to move them with our Brutal Strike, or completely reduce their speed to 0 if we hit them with a Hamstring Blow. The Hamstring Blow, reducing a creature to 0 hit points, is fantastic if you're hitting a flying creature, because they just fall out of the sky, which is very satisfying. But doesn't do a huge amount for our damage calculations. Level 13 is Barbarian 11. Our proficiency bonus goes up to 5, which means that we get 2 extra points of damage on both Great Weapon, basically from Great Weapon Mastery and from Savagery, which is lovely. We also get Relentless Rage, which lets you just stay up for ages. If you drop to 0 hit points while your rage is active and don't die outright, you make a con saving throw of DC 10. If you succeed, your hit points change to a number equal to twice your Barbarian level, which will be at 22 for us. Each time you use this feature after the first, the DC increases by 5, and when you finish a short or long rest, the DC resets to 10. It's just a really good way to keep us up. I'm here for it. Level 14 is Barbarian 12 for us, and I am taking Blood of the Berserker, which is another Northlands one. This allows us to boost our strength or con by 1, so I'm going to be taking strength, of course, which boosts our strength up to 20, and it also gives us an incredibly cool feature. When bloodied, you can use a bonus action to enter a frenzied state. While in this fury, your melee weapon attacks deal extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus. This is the 3rd instance of proficiency bonus we can add to our weapon's attacks. You also don't gain the unconscious condition when you're reduced to 0 hit points, which interacts really nicely with Relentless Rage, because we can just keep fighting forever, basically. The fury lasts for a minute, but is only once per long rest. I'll talk about how this interacts with damage shortly, but it's pretty good, and it's also intensely thematic. Level 15 is level 13 for our Barbarian levels. This gives us improved Brutal Strike, which allows us to give them disadvantage of the next strength save and stops them making opportunity attacks, or give someone else a boost to the attack, if that's what we want to do. As this is level 15, it's also time for another damage check-in. Our penultimate one. This is against an enemy AC of 19, and our damage at this point is 59.77, because we're urging our proficiency just a preposterous number of times, 3 times per hit theoretically. although I will talk about that in a second. So that's not actually with that number. With Action Surge, it will be 114.39. With Cleave Attacks, it's 129.09. With Action Surge and Cleave Attacks, it's 183.71. And with the Berserker Rage, it's 150.09 with no Action Surge and 213.11 with Action Surge. That's like the max because you're doing Berserker and Cleave. There's also a calculation in which I don't do Cleave on top of that. Please don't make me do it. I already did so much maths for this build. Add your proficiency bonus for the 2 attacks again. So it'd be an extra 10. Yeah? Yeah, an extra 10 damage on top of the normal damage check-in. It wasn't that hard. I could have done that. I'm sorry. You deserve better. Anyway, that's a lot of damage. We are now moving up to level 16, which allows us to be a level 14 barbarian. We're reaching close to the end of our barbarian levels here. This gives us a boosted rage of the titans. It allows us to go up to huge instead of large and allows us to add 3d12 instead of 2d12, which is just a preposterous amount of damage per hit, plus all of the proficiency bonuses and strength damage and rage bonuses that we're adding. So also, you get to be huge, which is just fun. Level 17 is a Barbarian 15 for us. We get Persistent Rage, which allows us to get all uses of our rage back when we roll initiative once per long rest. And it just lasts for 10 minutes with nothing required. And we do have this ASI here. We're not going to take it just yet. We're going to hop back to Fighter to take a Fighter subclass. Normally, something like Champion is worth considering here. It's a nice easy one to slot into your build because it helps your crit chance. There's also always arguments for Battle Master, and if there's something thematic you're going for, obviously, one of those is good. However, because of the sheer size of the hits we're doing, the best thing we can do is to hit more, which means that the Echo Knight is the correct choice. This is from the Explorer's Guide to Wildermount? Ooh. It's a Critical Role one. I'm not that big of a Critical Role fan. It's really good, but it's also really long and I don't have that much focus. Anyway, Echo Knight is cool thematically. It lets us manifest an Echo, which has an AC, 1 hit point, blah, blah, blah. It can move around and we can teleport with it as well, which is really, really cool. Also, when we take the attack action, we can attack from its space instead of our attack, which is nice. The main reason that I'm taking this, however, is because when you take the attack action, you can take an additional melee action from the Echo's position, and you can do this a number of times equal to your con modifier, which is good. This is just an extra attack, straight up, full-blown extra attack. There's no complicated nonsense about this. It's just an extra attack. So it would be silly to not take that. Level 19, we're going to take Fighter 4, and we're going to take the Zentrum Tactics. Aha! That's what it's called. We're going to boost our dex by 1. I don't think this is optimal. I think the optimal one is probably just to take something that boosts con, but here we are. The reason I want to take this is because if a creature within 5 feet of us hits us, we can make an opportunity attack against that creature, which is effectively guaranteed. We're not trying to stop getting hit. We're literally a huge target. We're trying to surround ourselves by people, and our AC is awful. So we should be getting hit, which means I think you can reliably assume that you are going to be getting this every single turn, as long as there is something still alive. So, yay. And then our final level, we are going back to Barbarian to get level 16, which is our final ASI. Going to boost our dex again. There's definitely an argument for, like I said, taking con boosting things instead. Actually, just taking 2 ASIs for your con might be a really strong choice if you're not that fussed about the opportunity attacks. Gives you more uses of your Echo Knight attack, which is nice, but it also gives you more health, which is also nice. I've gone for Boon of Fortune's Favour, which allows us to boost any ability score of our choice. I went for Dex just because it was an odd number at that point, but you can choose whatever you like. Con, like I said, good choice if you can get it up to a round number. And also when you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it. This is just good because you can do this once per turn, and it helps us be a little bit stronger against spells, which is not a strong point for us. This also means we hit our +4 damage with our Barbarian's Rage damage as well, which is nice. Obviously, our proficiency bonus is maxed at 6 now, so we can hit 4 creatures in total with our cleave. So we can do 1 attack, 2 attack, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then also an Echo Knight attack, and then we get Action Surge as well to do more, which seems fair. Cleave is once per turn, unfortunately, but we're getting a lot of use out of it, so I think it's fine. For our final damage check-in, then, against an enemy AC of 21, we are doing 124.72 damage, or 227.32 damage with Action Surge and the Echo. With Cleave, we're doing 256.93 damage, or 359.53 damage with Action Surge and Echo. And if we've managed to line up everything, and we've also activated the Berserker Rage that we have, not the normal rage that we have, we will be doing 295.65 damage, or, and this is where it gets silly, 412.60 damage with both Action Surge and the Echo, which is the highest damage of any of my builds, including Bladesinger, including the ridiculous Druid of Entropy build I did, even including the Pugilist, which I tried my very best to break the last build I did. This thing completely outstrips it. And on top of that, you're a barbarian, and a huge one, and you're a fighter. And yeah, it's just, I don't know what more you could want, frankly. So yeah, that's a lot of damage. Slap. Before we go, I just want to say a big thank you to my channel members. I really appreciate you all. It is a huge deal that you choose to support me. It means a lot. And I want to also say that there's a Discord, which I probably should mention earlier in the video, but I forgot. I was on a roll thinking about axes and whirlwinds and all sorts of good stuff. So hop into that and come and chat. I will be launching a Patreon soon as well. I'm just figuring out the finer details, but that is not for today. For today is, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making this one a lot. This was a lot of fun to put together. The numbers are truly absurd in a wonderful way. I hope that you are doing well and that you continue to do well and that you have a good week ahead of you as it is Monday. I hope you enjoy the Dungeon Himbo rebrand for the channel name. It's made a lot of stuff a lot easier. Being at UKG and having to say Enter They Strife out loud, even though it's been my like gamer tag thing for a long time, I'm pretty old. It was one I felt a little weird about saying out loud, and having to figure out how to spell it and stuff and pronounce it and everything else. It's just awful for everyone involved. Dungeon Himbo is just a lot easier to deal with. So, and it's funny, and I am a Knuff. Anyway, that's it for me. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you whenever I next see you. Oh, I should do other things. Let's do Druid of Entropy, and let's do the Bladesinger build as well, because I talked about them. I might be pointing in the wrong directions, but I'm pointing in both directions now, so it's fine. That's it. Goodbye.